What's up, everybody? I'm back with another comic book spoiler review, and we're continuing on with the Spider-Verse stuff. We're going, we went from Spider-Man Noir and Spider-Ham's universe. Now we're back to Universe 616 with the origin story of Spider-Woman, aka Jessica Drew. Now, I've always, I want to say I was completely familiar with Jessica Drew's origin. Like, I knew that she was briefly part of Hydra. She was a spy for SHIELD. I just never knew, everything, anything else beyond that. This actually is my first Spider-Woman comic that I'm actually reading. I never really read. I read stuff with Spider-Woman in it. But it's been a while since I read anything significant that has Spider-Woman as part of the main crux. Of course, there will be Spider-Verse, which I will be covering not too long from now. But prior to that, it will be Secret Invasion, which, spoiler alert, she was replaced by a Skrull. And matter of fact, a Skrull Queen, if I'm remembering correctly. It was a whole thing. It's not exactly one of my favorite Marvel events. Exactly. Same thing with Dark Reign. It wasn't exactly my favorite events. But a lot of people really like them. So yeah, this will be my first Spider-Woman centered story. So I thought it would be good that we cover her origin. It's only 5 issues. This is written by Brian Michael Bendis, art by Jonathan Luna. So, I know it's kind of like a funny after what was that? It was like a Marvel show that we was getting into Wundagore Mountain. No, it was not the show. It was Doctor Strange 2 that we have and I'm pretty sure it was at the end of WandaVision too. But we had a thing with Wundagore Mountain, and this is where we're getting to. We learn about Jessica's parents. And they were scientists. They're off on Wundagore Mountain doing some off the books type of research or experimentation on gene therapy, or be able to utilize a machine that could be able to mess with someone's DNA without having to cut them open, kind of thing. And just like with Spider-Man 1602, we gotta have somebody mess around with a spider, and this is, they give it a Latin name, but it's pretty much like a Wundagore spider. And this is a lot of this is being narrated by, at least for the first couple of, well, at least the first issue was narrated by the father. And they're partnered with, get this, Miles Warren. If you're familiar with Miles Warren, he's the one that's responsible with the Spider-Man clones in its inception. And so he's a younger guy here working with Jessica's parents, and it's kind of wild how this is so, because Spider-Woman is, you wouldn't think she was so that intricately tied to Peter Parker the way she is, but it's just wild to me. Although that blew my mind. So they get a surprise arrival by this general from the British government, who's secretly funding their work, because he has people that are seeing promise in their work that the British government isn't okay with. It's never, because you would assume that maybe like her parents are British, but it could just be Americans, just associated with this general. So you came in early, trying to check up on their work so far. They've been like setting up for over a year, and he's coming in for a visit. Now they're trying to show him what they've done so far, but it isn't like 100% complete. And of course, at this point in time, Jessica's mom was pregnant with her, and it was going over different names of what could they possibly name the child. And of course, like, everything seems like hunky dory, and like, they're fully committed to, like, working on this project. But of course, something goes awry, and right as they're using this spider as like a test subject, because you have to have the pregnant woman handle this kind of stuff, the gene splicer machine, or cipher, beams into the spider right into her belly. And of course, they're both freaking out, because on the surface everything's looking okay, but inside the womb you see like the x-rays, you see like the baby's like getting slightly underweight and everything like that, but baby comes out healthy. It's a miracle. But the father's kind of wild, because he's journaling this, so because like the text boxes are in like broken pages, and the father's kind of wild, man. He mentions like, I could not be more thankful, I couldn't be more terrified. I hate them both for putting me through this. I can't help how I feel. It is, I know this is personal thoughts, but that's just like a wild thing to think of. And so now it's now flash forward some years later. She's let's say Jessica was like what, like 8, like at least around 8 years old, and the mom is taking her out to the same place to see this other spider, this Wonder Girl spider, and she's trying to teach her how to pronounce the Latin name of it and everything like that, and how dangerous it is, because even if if it sees you as like a possible threat, it will attack it, as the poison is very deadly. And of course, she's stunned how Jessica is just able to just handle this spider with ease, and it doesn't pose a, the spider just, I guess, since it doesn't pose any seemingly threat to, Jessica doesn't pose any threat to it. And of course, like, the dad kind of later on blows up at the mom. It's like, how could you let, like, our daughter handling the most dangerous spider, one of the most dangerous spiders on the planet. And mom, because he already fuming, because like Warren at this point in time left because he doesn't believe in this project anymore. He's want to go take what he's learned, because he want to follow cloning thing is a more viable part of the research, and want to explore that. So he left. We all know how that will end up. But then he blows up at her, and then she points out, like, my dad took me out, like, I was no older than her, but my dad took me out for the same doggone thing. And then he, just, went at her. I was like, well, your father was an idiot. And she was like, what the hell is wrong with you? Like, why would you even say that? And while they going back and forth down there, Jessica's in her room, she's completely bored. And then all of a sudden, her adhesive wall crawling starts to kick in, and when she places her hand on the windowsill, it won't come off. And I immediately thought of what Peter Parker from the Spider-Verse movie said, like, you gotta relax your fingers. What will you do? What what do you do to relax? And it's like you just can't help but think about that, because I like when in like even in the games or in like movies, sometimes it's nice when the writers feed in like a little bit tidbits on how Spider-Man's powers work and what you have to do, because you want to know like how Spider-Man, like web swings like in the movie, or they get in the comics sometimes too, where it's like you press down the pad thing. If you have web shooters, some Spider Folk has like just organic webbing, as you've seen from my previous comic book reviews. But if you have web shooters, there's a press pad where you use your two front fingers to press down, and as you lean your wrist forward, it goes, in order to lock it in place, which you ensnare the area that you want. You just gesture your hands forward, and then just like grab on the line. And of course, you've seen the movie when they web swing through the forest. You hear that dialogue, and it's just like it's like nice to know. There's certain things. It's like you always want to know. There, you got it. But anyway, as she's trying to like get unstuck, she yanks a piece of the wood off the rails and then falls and went unconscious for a little while. And so, of course, the mom was worried. But father, goes and starts running a test on her. And after testing, he finally cracked it that the Wundagore spider, part of his DNA is in Jessica. So now he's just been, from that point on, taking blood samples, injecting her with this, and of course she doesn't feel too well half the time. And of course, the mom eventually found his journal and started going at him like, "You stay away from our daughter. What the heck is wrong with you? You've been experimenting on her." And of course, the dad just, ain't seen his kid like his kid anymore. It's like something that she has something in her blood that he can just use, and he doesn't give a crap about the any of the consequences or how it looks. And then of course you get this moment, kind of like Hank Pym with Janet in the comics. He slaps his wife, and of course, while Jessica is sitting hiding in the lab, she comes running to protect her mom, and you get the venom zap that she's known for, and of course knocks out the dad, and she falls unconscious. And then she wakes up 10 years later in Hydra base, where she's greeted by that general who used to be part of the British government, but now has been working for Hydra. And of course, while she was asleep, of course they've been like running tests on her, but they figure they can utilize her. But she still has the mind of a young kid, because she wasn't, she's been in a coma for this whole time, so she's like got to get used to what the world is like now. And of course they feeding her a bunch of lies, so she's of course distraught after he tells her, "Oh, your parents, they died, a long time ago. We found you in a lab, and we took you with us." And they told him about how like they work for Hydra, they're a peacekeeping organization, and they fight for the people and everything like that. So they had this guy utilizing this helmet to peer inside her mind, trying to help her unlock her memories. And of course, her memories are a little bit fragmented, or at least she's seeing things that not she's seeing things that wasn't there. Like her father is like a werewolf, and for some reason, because if you follow like old stories with Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver about how they was raised in, pretty sure it was in Wundagore or near Wundagore, and you got, you know, the High Evolutionary, which for some reason, this is the part that got confusing to me. Of course they messing with her head, but like, why would you implant, or why would she think of seeing the High Evolutionary? You never met him, not once. It's never seen in this story that they have any association with the High Evolutionary. And of course, if you remember from old Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver comics, they had like a nursemaid that had like a head of a cow, and you see that the nanny that was taking care of Jessica as a little kid, she remembers her with a head of a cow. So that part was a little confusing to me. I guess the point is to be as confused as Jessica, but it was never explained like why she's seeing that stuff, because was it really there? Because I doubt it, because she was only 8 years old. It'd be different if she was like maybe, you know, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 years old. But by the time 8, you're approaching like, you know, getting up there in 10 years old. It's like you're fully aware somewhat that people are people, and like I'm not a doctor or anything like that. So look, I'm not a child psychologist, but it's like, you know, it's like saying, because she would be around the same age as Bruce Wayne was when his parents died, and it's like that is a vivid thing. At least with Batman was a vivid thing, but it's like he didn't envision Joe Chill as like a snake or a cow or anything like that, because, you know, he's old enough to be cognizant that was a man who did it. So in the midst of, you know, parents out of her mind, she let loose her electrical shock thing, and now she's on just on this remote island, and she meets up with this Hydra agent named Jared. And Jared is befriending her. He telling her how great, you know, working for a Hydra is and everything like that. And then she starts to, you know, while she's there, she is indoctrinated to Hydra, because they, you know, filling her head full of lies. So because she has powers, she's being trained by Taskmaster. And I gotta start here while I'm thinking about it. The art in here, I'm not that much of a fan of. It's not terrible, but it's just kind of like basic, you know, because Nick Fury is a part of this. White Nick Fury is a part of this. White Nick Fury's face doesn't look that too dissimilar to the way her father's face looks like. It just with an eye patch and more scruffiness on the face, and then the gray sideburns. But if you kind of take that all away, it's just the shape of the head and the facial features. It's like very similar. It's very oval shaped in a lot of people's heads, and it's like I don't know. It's no distinctive amount of features between a lot of these characters. Of course, through more training, she's become like exceptionally well fighter. I mean, Taskmaster is one of the handful of Marvel characters that taught a lot of people, good and bad, depending on who hired him to train. But he's partly responsible for training a lot of grunts from different organizations like Hydra or AIM, so forth. So he used to be, if you look in Taskmaster's history, he used to be part of S.H.I.E.L.D., but he was like a dropout. But he has like the ability to, has a photographic memory of ability. So when he sees somebody's fighting style, he can like copy it to perfect ability. Even like the way Captain America throws his shield, the way like the Black Knight uses his sword, the way Hawkeye uses his bow, the way Black Widow and Punisher uses his guns. Very proficient and like utilize, because his name is Tony Masters, and the only person that he cannot seem to like beat like that is Deadpool. Like, he hates fighting Deadpool because Deadpool is a proficient fighter too, but he's so unorthodox and unpredictable that he cannot copy him because he's too like all over the place. Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. Just a little tidbit about that. Of course, they also help her create her, Spider-Woman costume, the iconic Spider-Woman costume. Eventually, because right now it's just like a full-on cowl, but eventually she cut out like the top parts so her hair can like flow, that we know of to this day. And then she's brought on to this assignment to help find Jarrett, who went on a mission not too long ago, and they're worried he was captured, and they need her to retrieve him before the enemy gets any information from him. Now, normally, Hydra agents take a cyanide capsule so they avoid capture, that kind of thing. I thought it was kind of weird. Like, why didn't he because you seen like in Captain America: Winter Soldier, a movie I did a review last year. You can check that out on my YouTube channel. Speaking of which, please follow me on my YouTube channel. Let's try to get this video to 100 likes. That'll be a great. Share this with your friends. Also, follow me in the links in the description, like my Patreon. I got like cheap tiers in case you guys have specific requests for videos or reviews. Follow me on my Twitter at Talkative Carl. Of course, twitch.tv/Talkative Carl if you want to watch me live when normally I stream video games. I'm gonna be like playing Forspoken probably a little bit tonight. And then of course my Odyssey channel, odyssey.com/@talkativecarl:E. So like I said, the links are in the description. So she went on an assignment, tried to retrieve Jarrett, because they need to retrieve him because they don't really, because Hydra, they don't care about their people. At least the people at the top don't really care, but they care about the information he might spill, because of course he's captured by S.H.I.E.L.D., who they fed lies to Jessica once again that S.H.I.E.L.D. is like evil. So she managed to very proficiently track them down, because you can say what you will about Hydra, but they know how to train some people. They're just saying that their grunts are just glorified stormtroopers that really get their butts kicked a lot. It's kind of weird. Also, by the way, it's kind of weird to see, because I did not know Jessica was a natural blonde. For many years growing up that I was familiar with Spider-Woman, she's always been a brunette. It's like unnerving a little bit to see her as a blonde, and it's so wild to me. But of course she eventually changed it. I don't know if she has to constantly dye her hair black, but it's never been brought up in any other iteration of hers, so she's always been like a dark-haired woman. So like I said, it's kind of weird seeing Jessica Drew as a blonde. Of course, she infiltrates the S.H.I.E.L.D. base because she sees Nick Fury roughing up Jarrett. It's like, why Jarrett of all people? Maybe he's a point man, I guess. But Fury managed to calm her down and explain to her what was really going on. That Hydra was lying to her. They're showing her images of Jared committing tons of terrorist attacks for Hydra, and all the crap he's spewing is very hateful and everything like that. And then also he gives her like the lowdown about her parents, how they were working for Hydra too, just on a very, very low capacity. So there was like one of those major players. So there wasn't, that much on people's radar like that. And after, because they are alive, they wasn't dead at all. So he promises, like, if you, work with us, I will help you out. Why should I trust you? He said. Well, like, the only difference between me and Hydra is that I won't, lie to you. Like, I'll tell you straight to your face what's up. And I will, like, commit. And he already hands her, like, dossiers about, like, because they don't know, because for all they know, the dad is still working with Hydra, but the mom went off. They didn't really have a formal divorce. They just decided to just go their separate ways. Because for all they knew, their daughter was dead, which I imagine Hydra that kind of lied to them. And they just, didn't bother to double check. They should know who they was working for at a certain point. So why would they just flat out believe? But, I guess it was because he was in like a suspended animation in a tank. So I guess, why would they? But, so she pretty much just like, she didn't right away start working for Shield. She just, after this revelation, she decides like, okay, forget you both, I'm just gone. And she disappeared she went under the radar for 2 years. That's like, you're Shield. That's like, and then Hydra, who can infiltrate a lot of places, for some reason, just because she dyed her hair black, you couldn't like figure it out or track her. Well, I guess she was trained by Hydra, so she knows how to disappear if she wants to, I guess. But it's like, for 2 years in a row, that's wild to me. But they eventually find her, and she's at this kind of club. And Jared, being the point man, somehow he escaped. Or, Hydra finally retrieved him. And, she pretty much holding her in, because everybody else like in this club ran as soon as like things started going down. And he points out to her that he was pretty much like her handler, and he hated every minute of it. Like cozying up to you was like trying to cozy up to like a child, because you still had a mind of a child, and it was I was disgusted with every minute of it. And so she managed to like very skillfully subdue him and try to run, but then there's more agents outside with Taskmaster. He calls her kind of like a disappointment. Now, every once in a while, when she's trying to fight back against these some of these Hydra agents, at least the higher ups, she starts seeing images of like werewolves, them being werewolves and something. And you later find out that was them messing around with her head, before. So it's kind of like RoboCop. If you ever seen the first RoboCop movie, when he was created, there's one of his secret guidelines was to not, harm his creators or arrest his creators. And this is pretty much like that programming in her mind. But she managed to fight through that, and she, managed to one up Taskmaster, take his sword, stab him, and then let off an electrical charge that, using Taskmaster and the sword as like a conduit, and let off this big lightning, connection streak that, connects to all the Hydra agents surrounding them, and they fall unconscious. Of course, this is Taskmaster. Of course, he didn't really die, but it's like he got stabbed in the gut and electrocuted. It's like there's no way that he should be able to survive all that. But she collects herself, and this is kind of the most badass moment of Jessica Drew that I've seen. She takes Jarrett, ties him in one of the hydroplanes, set it on a course to the general's Wilhelm, I think his name is. Windham. Might as well be Wilhelm, and hear that Wilhelm scream, because she jumps out of the plane, and you think she flies, but I think she more glides than flies. And she sends the plane careening into the general's hideaway, and and it just went off. So he was just drinking his tea, and he just looks up and sees, like, he didn't look up, he didn't notice, because a soldier come and alert him about something. I'm surprised they didn't shoot down that plane and it didn't show up on their radar. Well, I imagine it did come on their radar, but they believe, oh, this is our guys, so we're not going to immediately shoot it down. But it was like so badass. It's like he did not see that one coming. I did not see that one coming. It's just like, forget these, screw them both, and just just do it, because she has qualms about just taking people's lives. And so after that, another 2 years goes by. She's in college. She's pretty much getting her life together and settling in with the modern world seemingly fine. She's going to college, trying to gain some knowledge about stuff that was transpiring while she was in a coma. And then she's like met up with Fury, who tells her about her parents being alive. And of course, she decides to work with S.H.I.E.L.D. And so they give her information on where her mother is, and she goes to this apartment in New York. It seems like it's New York. She's been going by her maiden name, Broomback. What a heck of a name. And so she goes to the apartment and finds that her mother not only is dead, but she was killed by Iron Man's bad guy, Whiplash. She fights them off, but they, Whiplash escape and finds, documents of this Athena project. And so once again, she disappears again. Like, why would you not go back to the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents where they can help? But I guess she wants to want to do this on her own. So, she shows up again, months later under a different name. She dyes her hair red this time, and she's on the Mediterranean Sea with this high roller who funds movies, who's also been working for Hydra. And of course, she gets busted by Whiplash and tossed and she just starts to just dive overboard without hopefully not getting shot at, and then she sneaks a bomb on the boat that they were on, and takes a smaller boat and drives away while the bigger boat explodes. And it was like once again, it's kind of like a very badass moment. She's like a very James Bond-esque kind of character. Or matter of fact, I think it's more apt to equate her to Jason Bourne with the whole memory situation. So, so she finds this hideaway tanker. It's kind of like something that you saw in Black Panther Wakanda Forever, where like Namor attacks. It's kind of like something like that, where they were using like a base of operations. So she infiltrates that and finds her father there, running experiments. And of course the general is also there, and he's pretty much like Stephen Hawking at this point, because somehow he survived, but now he's just like had to be fed through a tube and like use like a motorized wheelchair to get around. It is like, wow, she did a number on you, and you just is like just the sheer fact that you survive is just like so much dumb luck. And of course, Jessica is just like thrilled to see her dad again after so many years. But this is where it gets really sad, man, because her father, at first you think he's like just excited to see his daughter fully grown up and alive. But he started asking all these questions. It's like, oh my God, you're fully adult now. It's, I thought you probably would have, perspired or something. And he started asking her all these weird questions, like, he was like, are you healthy? No heart arrhythmias? No brain tumors? Do you have trouble sleeping? What do you eat? Are you having an irregular menstrual cycle? It's like, he's like, oh, you're a biological miracle. You're just fascinating. He's talking to her like she's a lab rat that somehow survived after experimentation many years ago, and it's like, still kicking. And it's like, this is your daughter that you probably thought was dead, but you only care about like what's going on in her, biological makeup. It is so disheartening. So after she's just like fed up with the fact that because partly why she's seeing her father as like some kind of like wild beast, because that's how he pretty much behaved towards her mother, and her childlike mind just kind of like couldn't fathom or cope. So they her childlike brain couldn't, like I said, I'm not like a child therapist, but I can ascertain that it's pretty much something like that, where a childlike brain's trying to cope with what seemingly makes sense to her at that time. But then she's telling him like, just stay here. So she goes and attacks this base and tries to sink it, and then she soon discovers the Athena project is them essentially cloning her. Clones again. And it's like, different variations on, because they with the gene cipher or splicer machine, toying with any genetic DNA that they had on, or samples that they had still on hand from all the experiments that he was doing on his daughter years ago. So he's making like a bulky Jessica Drill. All of them got like different hair colors, and it was like madness, man. And of course, at the same time, Madam Hydra is showing up, and this whole place is, coming down. And Madeline Hydra's going to Jessica's dad is like, yo, we got to get out of here. We need to continue your research. We got to go. And of course, I think this is finally when her father finally clicks to him, like, I wasn't like a good father and I can't go on. So, Madeline Hydra just shoots him. It's like, fine, bam. And of course, like, Jessica probably didn't bother to go back and check on him while she was taking this whole entire thing down. So she, well, of course, Madeline Hydra and probably a few Hydra goes managed to escape, but everybody else perishes on this thing except for Jessica, who's lying in the water and eventually got picked up by S.H.I.E.L.D. And Jessica, thanks Fury for his assistance. Like, you didn't allow him to help you that much. He gave me a couple of documents and some info, but I guess any little counts. But she hands him her business cards. He decides to be a private investigator, which I do believe that is her profession in the Marvel comics. And she's based in San Francisco. That's where she's set up, because as she puts it, there's plenty enough superheroes in New York. They're going to set up on the West Coast, but she doesn't stay long, obviously. She eventually, because if you know anything about Spider-Woman, she eventually had a kid. To this day, I don't know who is the father, because you never see him in anything Jessica Drew related. Of course, Jessica Drew cameos in a lot of stuff that I've normally read. The stuff that I read where she's seen is as a cameo, so you don't see much of her family life outside of the kid. I think she has a daughter. So I need to look that up, because I'm so... Matter of fact, I want to look it up right now, because I am so curious about, like, okay, who is this woman's baby daddy? Let's take a second. One second. And Jessica's parents is named Jonathan and Miriam Drew, by the way. She has a brother, Michael Marchand, which I don't know who that is at all. No, she has a son, not daughter. Gary Drew. A niece, Rebecca Marchand. I'm explaining, like, who's the father. Yeah, it doesn't explain, like, who the father is. Like, let me Google this. Who is Spider-Woman's son's father? I guess it's unknown. That's weird. Like, she has had a kid at some point, but you never bring up, like, who the father is. not even like a one night stand, or maybe she's, maybe like, did some kind of like a sperm bank thing. But that's weird. Why you never even bring that up? Not once. But anyway, yeah, that is Spider-Woman. But Spider-Woman origin. Let me know in the comments below, like what if you read her origin before, what you think of her origin story. I love this. This is very like kind of like a Jason Bourne kind of life she had. As kind of sad. What's going on with her parents? She didn't have like a moment to rekindle any kind of relationship with her mother as an adult. Now she kind of lost that. And then her relationship with her father like went down the crapper. So it's like, she finds like she has like a brother and a niece, and she got her own son. So she pretty much like starting fresh with a family, which is good. It's like a nice little turnaround for her. Just wish we knew who the freaking father was. That's kind of weird. And she had this kid for like years, and I don't even recall that ever being brought up at no point. That's kind of weird. Who you think might be the father is? Do you think she was like doing some kind of in vitro thing? I think that's what it's called. But yeah, I'll see you guys in a few minutes, because I will be covering the MTV Spider-Man, the new animated series, season 1, the only season it had. So I look forward to that. And the next Spider-Man-esque comic I will be covering, was probably going to take a hot minute, will be Spider-Man 2099. So look forward to that. So each comic moving forward is going to be like one at a time, because the rest going to be, are lengthy issues. So yeah, look forward to those. Yeah, I'm digging this. Like, definitely do yourself a favor. If you haven't read Spider-Woman Origin, check it out if you want to familiarize yourself with her origin. So yeah, I will see you guys later. Take care.